Hello everyone, I'm Milica Pandžić. I'm the Chairwoman of Estudiantes for Libertad, which is SFL in the Spanish-speaking Americas. I'm going to talk to you about this very interesting topic for our organization, which is leadership transitions. And so let's begin. First thing comes first, why are we talking about this? Why is leadership transition so important? Well, because causes transcend people. And the cause of liberty is no exception. Changing the world takes time. We have to keep in mind that we are working for something bigger than ourselves, so it's up to us to make sure that everything will continue working and the cause of liberty will continue advancing even without us. Actually, leadership transition is at the core of SFL mission, because as we all know, our mission as SFLers is to educate, develop, and empower the next generation of leaders of liberty. In a more concrete situation, this means that at some point, we will have to find someone that can take our leadership position and ideally improve our work. This will seem very simple, but if we don't internalize transition and if we don't prepare, if you don't prepare yourself or the group you're leading for it, it just won't be easy. As Chairwoman of Libertad, I have to oversee around 18 different countries, and that can comprise those groups with very different dynamics. Therefore, I've been involved in very successful transitions, as I've seen and lived some chaotic ones. So this whole presentation comes from all the experience we've had in Libertad. Before we move on to what we should do to have a good transition, let's talk about what's at stake. What's the cost of a bad transition? With a bad transition, you decrease the potential of your own team. Your team will be at disadvantage in relation to other teams or in relation to the position they could have had if a good transition had taken place. This can also lead to demotivation, dropouts, and especially to conflict. All of this will take time and energy and will defocus the team from our mission. At the end, the organization loses, and the cause of liberty loses as well. Now, to start the process of transition, let's talk about the parts involved. Usually, when it comes to transition, we have three parts. We have the former leader, we have the new leader that will take the place of the former leader, and the team that will deal with transition as well. In my opinion, a good transition does not start at the end of your role. I believe a good transition starts the minute you take your leadership role, because from there you will start to build internal foundations on where your team will develop later on. This all seems just like good team management, but it will be extremely important for transition. First, we all know that good leaders are expected to empower their teams, so they can all carry on initiatives autonomously. But that's also important to the extent that through empowering your leaders, you will get to know them. What they are passionate about, what their qualities are, what they're good at. This will give you a good image of where they can develop later on. You also need to be very aware of the dynamic of your team. Not only look for leaders that take the initiative, but also, and more importantly, look for the leaders that are the first followers for others' initiatives. Who are the most supportive leaders of the rest of the team, or who are the leaders that make things happen through empowering the rest? Those are some questions you will need to ask yourself constantly to understand the dynamic of the team. One of the most important features, not only for team management, but for transition, is constant communication. Communication is what keeps the organization together. Never stop communicating. First, if you are leading a team, of course, you will need to know what the rest of the team is up to. But that's not enough. You need to go a bit further. You will need to make sure that all the members of the team know what's going on. This is what other leaders are working on. You have to be the most important channel of communication of the group, But also, you should facilitate communication between other leaders and encourage them to communicate with the rest. This is extremely beneficial not only to coordinate activities between leaders and share experiences, either successes or failures that will add up to the list of lessons learned, but it will also give leaders a clear image of the works of others. This helps to build up transparency. As everyone is aware of the work of the rest has done, it's easier to make decisions of leadership transition, as the new leaders appointed will be legitimized by their own work. Now, talking about the dynamic between the former leader and the new leader, there are three aspects I would like to talk about. Two of them are communication and training. For a successful transition, communication between these two leaders should comprise aspects like, what does the new role imply? This has to be clear for the new leader, of course. What were the met and unmet expectations and the possible reasons for those results? And also, they should talk about new expectations, new challenges, and everything that can come ahead for the new leader. For these, of course, the former leader should have all the information, SAGs, performance, and I will also recommend the former leader to have a short list of important things he has been doing over his term, as we don't have any exhaustive list of the responsibilities we can take over the leaders. So it's important for the new leader to have good knowledge of what the former leader has been working on. This helps in the continuity of projects. In terms of training, of course, you have to take most of the time to train the new leader. You have to work closely with him. You start at some point, start delegating before transition comes. And of course, you always need to give him advice about all the aspects of the organization. Continuity is actually extremely important because it means that leaders and teams will not only start from zero, but they will continue the work of former leaders, so double efforts and waste of time are avoided. This is one of the biggest lessons we learned in transition, and one of the things we've had to work very hard on. One of the recommendations I can give to build organizational information is to build databases, so you don't lose any important information. I just love Google Drive spreadsheets for this. In Libertad, we have spreadsheets for almost everything. For example, we have media hits database, literacy media databases, speakers databases, allies and partner organizations databases, etc., etc. Every information that can be useful for the organization has to be saved and passed on to new leaders. Also, documents like manuals or protocols, especially in their editable forms, are very important. Even formats of any document you have used. For example, something as simple as letter for inviting speakers to a conference. It might seem insignificant, but new leaders will save a lot of time and effort if they have access to these little things as a format of a letter for inviting a speaker or the contact information for a specific partner. Another aspect that is extremely important are passwords. In our case, there's been the case that we've lost extremely important digital platforms, or we were close to lose them just because new leaders nor staff did have the password for access. So it's very important to try to share this information with some other people and also save it. One last aspect you cannot forget when transitioning is external communication. This is letting partners and other stakeholders know that there are new leaders taking the place. So from then on, you should contact them they should contact them for anything related for the organization. Finally, let's talk about the dynamic of the new leader and the team. First, the new leader has to be aware that the transition is a change for the team too. New leaders usually tend to want to change a lot of things at the beginning, and that's a mistake because, of course, this is a change for the team too, so they really want for the transition to be very soft for them, very gradual changes. Also, the new leader has to have honest and constant communication with the team about the unmet expectations and the new expectations they have. The new leader has to always listen to the team, and in order to work together, there's very recommendable to have decision-making partnerships with the team. I think that's all the advice I can give you and all we've learned in Estudiantes por la Libertad over the last years. So I hope you find this useful. And if you have any questions or comments, just please write me to my email. Thank you very much.